In the last part, we see Okita has entered the dungeon to help Matsuda-san. As he entered, we can see his amazing power, and he was slaying all the monsters in floor 1. But a serious problem arises as the dungeon oxygen was very limited, and he used all of that by using a fire-type attack. He is suffering from low concentrate of oxygen in his blood. He starts to sweat, and was about to lose his consciousness. He then takes all his cards out of the card holder and starts to look for a card that can provide some help in his dire situation. Okita then sees a card named Sag of Purity. He was confused that will this card be able to save him, but he didn't hesitate to use it as he was in a life or death situation. He draws the card, and in blue angle with a rainbow crystal crown around its head appears. The angle blow the air with its mouth. At that time, Okita's hands and feet starts to turn numb, but after a while, a message appears, which says that the air in the floor has turned back into normal. By seeing this, Okita sits on the ground to take lungs full of air and feels alive again. He then looks at the angle and thinks that if this was the wrong card, he could have lost his life. He also gets amazed that all the cards he have is way too powerful. He also thinks that from now on, he should not use the cards reckless as he used in the White Room. In the White Room, he could use unlimited cards, as it didn't harm him, and he also has unlimited access of mana. But in reality, he does not have unlimited mana, and a few moments earlier, he was already getting himself killed by one of his cards. He then gets up and starts to collect all the mana stones that drops from killing the goblin. As he collects the mana stones from the ground, his mana also gets recovered. On the outside of the dungeon, old man Matsuda-san and his granddaughter is waiting outside. Saki tells his grandfather that they should be going home as she has heard that clearing a dungeon can take up to a few days, but Matsuda-san didn't want to go. He will be waiting for Okita's return, who is risking his life for him to clear the dungeon. Saki understands her grandfather's feels, and she also decides to stay with him. Inside the dungeon, Okita has now entered the next floor. As he enters, he can feel that there are more monsters here than the previous floor. He then draws his Magic Missile Master card, and a huge gray color monster with a staff in his hand appears. The huge gray monsters starts to fire magic missiles and kills the goblins. After a while, a message appears, which says that he is running low on mana and 10% of his mana is been consumed per second. By seeing this, Okita tells the monster to wait, but it was firing continuously. After a few seconds, another message pops up which says that 50% of his remaining mana has been consumed. By seeing this, Okita shout out loud to stop, and the huge gray monster returned to its card. After that, thousands of message appears that all the goblins and monsters in this floor has been killed. The rank of the Magic Missile Master card also increases, and Okita also, a new title named Shooter of Magic Missile. Okita is sitting on the ground and thinks that he is lucky as all the monsters gets defeated before he ran out of mana. He also thinks that his skills aren't enough to use this cards, as using only 3 cards depleted his mana. He then starts to recover his mans by taking up the dropped mana stones. As he was walking, he was thinking that if he did not use a card that consumes less mana, he would be able to reach to the Dungon boss. He then looks for a short-ranged card like a warrior or a swordsman, but he didn't like to use this type of cards by thinking of Noguchi and that lady. But now he has no other choice. He searches his coat pocket and found a card named Cerulean Swordsman. As he draws the card, a swordsman with a katana in his hand appears. The swordsman then demonstrates Okita some of his skills. By seeing the skills, Okita gets happy as this is the card that he was looking for. He then moves to a further floor. As he gets in the floor, he saw huge numbers of goblins are waiting for him. He then draws the Cerulean Swordsman card, and the swordsman appears. From the appearance of the swordsman, the monsters get scared. Okita then orders the swordsman to slash all of the monsters. The swordsman then rushes towards the goblins and takes a stand in front of the goblins. He then unstealth his katana, and all the goblins get sliced away. Okita finds it very amazing as the swordsman kills all the goblins in the floor in one swing. Messages come popping at him that the floor is clear, and he has got XP point, and the rank of the Cerulean Swordsman card has gone up. He collects the mana stones to replenish his mana. He also figures out that this card consumes much less mana than the others, which is a good news. For him, as the goblin, mana stones are enough for him to recover his full mana. He then climbs to the 4th floor, and again he uses the Cerulean Swordsman card and clears the floor in a few minutes. The rank of the Cerulean Swordsman card again goes up, and this time Okita gets a new title, Swordswing Introductory Catalog. He moves forward and also cleared the 5th floor easily, with the swordsman help. This time, as the card ranks get up, it gains 2 new skill, IAI and Tasuki, and Okita also gets a title, Sword Swing Peak Middle Record. Then he consecutively cleared the 6th and 7th floor with ease. In this time, he also collects mana stones to recover his mana, and the card rank also rises with the rise of the floors. He also gets new titles. Then in the 8th floor, Okita sees a new type of monster's Hobogoblin, which is a D-rank monster. The Hobogoblins were wearing armor, but in front of the swordsman it was like a paper as he cuts all the Hobogoblins with a single slash. Now Okita reaches the 9th floor. This is also the Dungeon boss floor. The dungeon boss is a Goblin King, which is a C-rank monster. As the dungeon boss was going to activate its B-rank skill, Fainting Roar, the swordsman slashes its katana and separates the Goblin King's head from its body. The dungeon is finally cleared. Okita gets a new title, Piercing Blade, and the rank of the Cerulean Swordsman goes up. He also gets the Mana Stone of the Goblin King. Okita was amazed to see that this card ranks up as he kills monsters. He gets curious to see that how much this card rank can goes up. He then gets out of the building and see that Matsuda-san and Saki is waiting for him. By seeing Okita, Saki gets shocked and asked him that how he is out so soon. It is barely been an hour and he is already out of the dungeon. Matsuda-san gets sad as he thought that Okita has gave up and get out of the dungeon. As Saki was cheering up her grandfather, Okita speaks up and says that he has already cleared the dungeon. By hearing Okita's words, Matsuda-san and Saki gets shocked and rush to see the inside of the building. As Matsuda-san peeks inside his building, he sees that the building has turned to normal, which means the dungeon has been cleared. After seeing this, Matsuda-san and Saki starts to praise Okita and asked him how he defeated the dungeon boss. Okita gives a nice smile and says that it was coincidence that he was a good match for the dungeon boss. He also says that he is happy to serve them and tells them that they can pay him at any time. As Okita was about to take his leave, old man Matsuda asked him if he wants try to earn a little more. Okita gets a bit confused from his words. Matsuda-san then explains him that he has other buildings that has been dungeonized and he wants Okita to clear them. As Matsuda-san is taking Okita to the other dungeons, Saki tells her grandfather to wait and said him that they should first thank Okita properly. By saying this, she expresses her gratitude towards Okita. Okita says that there is no need for this as it is also helping him to get mana stones. Okita gets excited that he can again clear a dungeon. As he was going to the next dungeon with Matsuda-san, his stomach starts to make noises, so old man Matsuda asked him if he is hungry. He replied that he is. As Saki hears this, he grabs Okita's arm and pulls him with her to their home to give a treat to Okita. As Okita goes to Matsuda-san home, Saki cooks for them and prepares the dinner for him. As he eats the food, he finds it quite delicious and said thanks to Saki for preparing it. While all of them were eating, Okita asked Matsuda-san if only the two of them lives here. By hearing this question, Matsuda-san's face turns sad. He said that Saki's parents, in otherwise his son and daughter-in-law, were assigned to go overseas, but because of the effects of the Tokyo airport being dungeonized, they couldn't come back to Japan, and that's why he and Saki lives together. Dungeonization of the Tokyo airport. the entrance into Japan's skies, the Tokyo airport, was dungeonized. This had a tremendous effect on the traffic from overseas. Because of that, many people overseas couldn't return to Japan. Matsuda then asked Okita about his family. Okita says that he has a mother and a sister, but he hasn't met them for quite some time, as he lives alone. By hearing that Okita lives by himself, Matsuda-san offers Okita why he not sleep the night in his place. Okita respectfully declined his offer, and after finishing his dinner, he gets out of Matsuda-san's house. While he was walking alone in the midnight, he thinks about his family, so he calls his mother. He then sits on bench and tells his mom that he has quit the company as he will be working as a freelancer. After that, on the next day morning, we can see Okita has come in front of the third building of Matsuda. While he was staring the building, Matsuda-san and Saki comes. As Okita sees Saki, he asked her why she is here while she should be in school. Saki said that he will be going to the school. Before she leaves for school, she hands Okita a lunchbox and says good luck to him. Okita then gets ready to clear the dungeon, and before going inside, he hands over his belongings to Matsuda-san and enters the dungeon.